Hello again. Welcome to part 2 of the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard ranking. I've split this into two because it's quite big. So if you're watching part 2 first, you need to watch part 1. So we got up to number 13, so we'll start here at number 12. So number 12 is the 21st album, and it was released on the 7th of October 2022, and it's called Ice, Death, Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms and Lava. Interesting title, isn't it? And the first track on this one is called Mausoleum. This is a fusion track. It's got some nice drums. The only thing I've got against it is the repetitive of My Saviour. You get that all the way through and it's a little bit irritating. Then we get Ice V, bit of a long epic here, 10 minutes and 16 seconds. Takes a bit to get going, but once it does, woo, it's good. Real jazz fusion here. The drumming all throughout this track is fantastic. Then we get a track called Magma. The guitar work on this is really good. The drumming on these albums is pretty good. It's that sort of jazz fusion sort of track. Bit of flute and funk on there. Good track. Then we get Lava. This is very psychedelic. The drumming is totally different, quirky, and some more flute in there just to soothe you. Hell's Itch, my favourite track on here. This is very jazz prog. Some great guitar work in this. The flute really adds to it. It's got one of the best guitar solos on the album as well. Very, very good. Then we get Iron Lung. Very progressive rock again. It's sort of that early blues Jethro Tull off the first couple of Jethro Tull albums. Really good. Like that a lot. Giles 710. We go back to more jazz, aggressive funk rock fusion. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know how to describe it. It's jazzy, it's heavy, it's sort of fused in there. Some great guitars on here. Once again, we get some lovely flute playing just to soothe everything down. It's a really good track, and a good track to end the album. A very good album. It's in the vein of early 70s prog. I would say it's sort of that Canterbury. It's got a lot of that Canterbury scene sort of feel to it as well. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.2. Okay, coming in at number 11, we've got the 15th album, released on the 16th of August 2019, Infest, The Rat's Nest. First track on here is called Planet B. Now this is very punk rock, very guitar and aggressive. Really good track. Just love that. Then we get Mars for the Rich. Very Motorhead. Very, very Motorhead. The riffs are good. The drumming is amazing. This drummer, you know, he can be doing jazz and then he's doing heavy metal. What can you say? Then we get Organ Farmer. Very post-punk, aggressive guitars. The riffs are fantastic. The singing is just aggressive and punky, and I love it. Then we get Superbug, my favourite track on here. The bass line is just gets you right there, and then you've got the strong riffs. It's just a really heavy track. Venus Asian 1 or Venus or something like that. Venus. Well, when you look at it, it says Venus Ian, so it could be Venus Ain 1. Good track. Very chunky, sort of heavy metal. Some great guitar work on that. Perillian. The opening riff is great. The drumming, it's just good old-fashioned heavy metal rock and roll. Then we get Venus Ain 2. This reminds me a little bit of Motorhead's Overkill. especially at the beginning with that sort of great bass line. That's probably why I like this track. Self-immolate sounds like early Metallica, you know, Ride the Lightning style, crash bang wallop, grinding guitars. A track called Hell's next, very thrash metal, and it goes a little bit melodic in as well. A really good track, lots of energy on that. Last track on the album. All I can say about this band, one minute they put out a psychedelic album, they put out a funky album, and then they put out a track album that's just full of heavy metal rock and roll. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay, coming in at number 10 is their most current album, the 24th, and it was released only on the 16th of June 2023, so it's only been out a couple of weeks. So I've been waiting for this to come out, hence why we haven't ranked these albums. And it's called PetroDragonic Apocalypse. I can't say that word, I just can't get my tongue around it. Or it's the thing is dawn of eternal night and annihilation of planet Earth and the beginning of the merciless damnation. Yeah. Yes, quite a long track, but they just call it PetroDragonic Apocalypse. First track on here is called Motor Spirit. This is brilliant. The opening riffs. This is a heavy metal album again. It's just really energised with a great guitar solo. Supercell, very thrash metal. It's amazing how they can change their genres just like that. This is an aggressive heavy metal track, but at its best it is super. Converge, powerful metal track, driving riffs, booming vocal, superb track. Witchcraft, more of them great riffs, although it gets a little bit repetitive in this one, but it's okay. Then we get Gila Monster, my favourite track on here. First time I put it on, I thought, my god, it's hard, it's heavy, it's got a driving bass line that is absolutely killer. Great track. Then we get a track called Dragon. This is quite a long track. This is so Metallica, and I mean 72 Seasons Metallica. Absolutely brilliant. It's one of the best metal tracks I've heard this year. Absolutely killer. Flamethrower is the last track. Great drumming on this. It's proper metal drummer. Absolute thing. I think this is a brilliant album. It's a very good metal album for a band that are not known for doing metal. You know, if this is, I don't think this will be the last album we'll get this year from King Gizzard. We'll probably get the next one, probably some dance, Jones, funky thing. This is what I like about them. You just know what you're gonna get. But for this one, I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.4, and look out for this album at the end of the year review, because I think it's going to be up there. Okay then, coming in at number 9, we've got the 14th album released on the 26th of April 2019, and it's called A Fishing for Fishies. First track is called Fishing for Fishies. I love the drumming at the beginning of this. It's very bubblegum pop drumming, like, you know, Mick Tucker sort of drumming, and then you get this nice gentle guitar with harmonica. It's not what you expect, but it's really good. Boogeyman Sam. This starts off with a little bit of that sort of movie sort of music, and then it just goes into this sort of alternative rock track with a bit of boogie in there. A very good track. The Bird Song, again, the drumming and the piano is really good. It's got a jazzy sort of feel to this. Really good. Get a little bit of industrial sound in there as well. The only band that can mix all these different genres and come out with it. Plastic Boogie reminds me of T-Rex. My favourite track on here. This is very T-Rex. If you listen to this, you'll go, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. It's just got the sort of thing that Mark used to do. Brilliant little track. Then we got the Cruel Millennium. I can never say Millennium. I'm sorry. Just can't get me mouth round that one. Well, this is quite heavy though. It's got a boogie sort of feel to it as well. Really good track. Very glam rocky. Real's Not Real. Funny track. Starts off with a bit of boogie woogie. Then it goes into pop. And then it goes back to boogie woogie. Really different, but works. This thing, again, it's very bubblegum rock pop at the beginning. The bass round line is good, very catchy. Love the guitars in this. Then we get Arcane. It's very, very bubblegum pop as well. It's got some nice wah-wah guitar on this. It's pretty good. And then Psycho Boogie. Again, it doesn't fit in with the rest of the album, but it's good. Some great riffs in it. Sound, you know. Let's throw something a bit. Throw a curveball on the album. And they did. Again, it's one of those albums that's so diverse in music. It's got some sort of glam rock in places, psychedelic, dancing. It's all over the place, but it all works, and I really like this album. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay then, coming in at number 8, we got the 22nd album, released on the 12th of October 2022, 5 days after Ice, Death, Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms and Lava. And it's only got 2 tracks on it. And I think it's called Laminated Denim. And the first track is called The Land Before Timeland, which was another album track, and it's called, and it's a sort of a jazz fusion here with a bit of blues thrown in as well. It flows lovely, and out of the 2, it's my favourite track on this very short album. The second track on this one is called Hypertension. It's more that jazzy sound as well. It's the whole album's pretty good. It's only half an hour, but the 2 tracks are brilliant. It's just, I just like it. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay, coming in at number 7, we have their very first album that was released on September the 12th, 2012, and it's called 12 Bar Bruise. Features a Broderick Smith on spoken word on track 6. First track on this one is called Elbow. Very interesting track, very space rocky and very Chrome actually. Reminds me so much of some of the Chrome albums. Very, very good track. Then we get Muckraker, a short, sharp post-punk rock song, straight to the point, really good. Then we got 9, really good track, very, what I would say, you know, that early sort of sound that the Police and the Jam had when they started up. I like it. You forget that this came out in 2012, but it sounds like it came out in the mid-70s. Very, very good track. Then we get the title track, 12 Bar Bruise. Solid drumming in this, some great guitar work, absolutely electric. Very raw, awesome stuff. Garage Leah reminds me of the Ramones. When I first heard this, oh god, this is so Ramones. I love it. It's a really good track. Then we get Sam Cherry's Last Shot. This is with the spoken word on it. Don't like it. Just sing it, don't say it. High Hopes Low. This is a combination of post-punk and blues. It's a really interesting combination, but again, I like it. It's just very, very good. Cutthroat Boogie. Now, this reminds me of the Stooges. very Stooges off that first album by the Stooges. Really good as well. Then we get a track called A Bloody Ripper, my favourite. It's post-punk sort of thing, really good. Driving riffs, what more do you need? Then the next track is called Ho, I Called Mum. It's got a bluesy, some nice harmonica on this, pretty different. Then we get Sear Trees. Again, we're going back to that sort of early Jam, early Police sound. And I love it. I think it's great that they were doing this sort of music in the 21st century, and it's so 70s. Then we get the last track called Footy Footy. Again, it's just great post-punk rock. Absolutely terrific. Driving riffs. And great singing on this. The singing on these albums is great. When you listen to this, you could have thought this album, if you didn't know the year it came out, you would have guessed it was, what, mid-70s. You know, 77, 78 time. It's really good. It's a fantastic debut. It's raw, it's plug-in and go rock, and I love it. Again, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.7. Okay, then coming in at number 6, we have the 13th album, released on the last day of December of 2017, and this was a year that they released 5 albums, 2017. That's what I mean about this band. I think they're terrific and getting stuff out. And this one's called Gumboot Soup. The first track on here is called Beginner's Luck. So we're going back to psychedelic pop rock. Really excellent tracks and really nice textures on this. Like listening to that one. Then we get Greenhouse Heat Death. Interesting vocal on this one, but it's a really good track. Love the guitar work on it. Excellent. Barefoot Dessert, a very short track. You got some flute in this, and it comes in at a place that you wouldn't expect flute, but that's what you get with the King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard. You always expect the unexpected. Muddy Water, very psychedelic. Sounds very early doors, especially the keyboard. It's the sort of thing Ray would have played. Love it. Superposition, really good track. Love the flute in this. It's one of them tracks again that you don't expect to have flute in. Down the Sink, this is funky. I love the bass line and I love the chunky guitars on that one. Then my favourite on this one is called The Great Chain of Being. The drums do it for me. They're heavy, hard hitting. Really good track. The Last Oasis. I'm not into this. It's very disjointed. Again, sometimes they try these tracks and they just don't work. You know, I admire them for trying it, but this one just didn't work for me. All Is Known. Interesting rock here. Track here. We've got horns. Throw some horns in, shall we? And the guitar work is really good. I'm Sleeping In, very psychedelic again. The keyboards of this are just at the beginning. It's that bit at the beginning that's the keyboards are sort of been reversed. It's very 1960s and it is wonderful. Then we get the last track called The Wheel. The thing about this is the jazz drumming. It's a mixture of that psychedelic jazz sound. I just love it. This is one of those albums that's got so many genres thrown into one. It's a really mixed bag here. There's a couple of tracks that don't hit the mark for me, but on the whole that album is fantastic, and I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.8. Okay then, top 5. For me, these are the best 5 albums by this band. A band that I'm thoroughly into now, and my intentions are to get them all, so I'm not listening to them on Spotify. So coming in at number 5, we have the 8th album. Now this one was released on the 29th of April 2016, and it's called Nonagon Infinity. First track is called Robot Stop. This is a mixture of alternative rock, psychedelic rock, with a great guitar solo on it. Absolutely killer. Next track is called Big Fig Wasp. Very similar to Robo Stop, but what dominates this one is the bass line. Absolutely terrific. Gamma Knife. Amazing guitar work on it. The solo is really good. So the drumming all the way through is solid. I just love these sort of tracks. People Vultures. It's got some very 60s keyboard and guitars on this. Very 60s pop. Like it. Very, very good. Mr. Beat comes next. This reminds me of the Stranglers. It's got that distinctive Dave Greenfield keyboard, and that's the distinctive part of it. It just, when I heard it, I went, God, this is Stranglers. Really good track. Evil Death Roll. Some interesting guitar effects on this, but they are really good. The only criticism is it's a couple of minutes too long. Invisible Face. This band have really got this knack of coming up with some really quirky stuff that shouldn't work, because this is a little bit of disjointed, but for some reason it actually works and it's really good. Then my favourite track on here is called Wah Wah. Yes, it's got some wah wah on it. It's great guitar work. Lovely track. Road Train. This is a good rocker, and it's got that motion of a train rolling down the tracks. It's a really good track to end the album with. Good album, top to bottom. Good stuff on this. I love how they just turn their hands to any style of music. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 4, we've got the 12th album released on the 17th of November 2017, and it's called Polygondwanaland. Try and say that after a few points. Additional musicians on here, we've got Leah Senior that does the spoken word on track 3. First track up is Crumbling Castle. Starts off with another epic. It's got a great bass line, some great keyboard in this. It's really good. I like this track. Tremendous stuff. Then we get the title track, Polygondwanaland. It's okay. I like this. Got this stop-start motion in it. Really adds to it. It's a little bit different. The Castle in the Air comes next. It's not one of my favourites on the album. Bit of a filler for me, that one. Then we get Deserted Dunes, very similar to Castle in the Air, but it's got more oomph with it. I wonder if they took that track and gone, let's see if we can improve it, and they did, and it sounds really good. The next track is called In a Cell. The keyboards on this are really good. You got this little keyboard run that goes all through the track. It gives it atmosphere, and the vocal on this is really good as well. Loyalty, my favourite track on here. It's got a very interesting drum signature and a great bass line. I think that's why I like it. It's holds the track together. The drumming, you feel that it shouldn't be holding the track together, but it does. It's really good. Then we get a thing called Horrorology. It's a great vocal. It shouldn't work, but it just flows. It's a great bass line. That's what holds it together. Then we get a track called Tetrarachmacy. Tetrarachmacy, that's it. Some harmonies in this, some vocal harmonies. Rolling drums, soulful, very good. I like that. Searching. This is sort of that sound from the subcontinent, India and around there. It's got that sort of tabla drum on it. Very psychedelic, fantastic little track. The Fourth Colour, which is the last track. The drumming again is superb on this. There's some drum machine on here, I think. The guitar solo's ace. Love this track. Great album from top to bottom. Some great musicians on this. Very talented chaps. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.1. Top 3. This was tough. It took me a long time to get these, but in this order. But I went with this in the end. So coming in at number 3, we have the 5th album, released 14th of October 2014. I'm in Your Mind, Fuzz. First track, I'm in Your Mind. Very psychedelic. Great bass line. Space rock sound. You can't go wrong. I'm Not in Your Mind. It's a variation on I'm in Your Mind, but there's more guitar in this. The very 60s pastiche sound. I like it. Then we get Cellophane. The bass line is great. Then you get this sort of freaky bit of guitar and keyboards. It's wonderful, wonderful sound they got on that. Then we get I'm in Your Mind, Fuzz, a continuation of Cellophane. These first 4 tracks are sort of very interconnected, and they are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Then we get Empty. Again, it's just one of them tracks. It's quite rocky, and then the flute flies in, and you don't expect that flute again. That's what I love about it. You just don't know when you're gonna get these different sounds. Hot Water comes next. Very similar to Empty, but it's more distorted sound. The bass line and the flute work so well. It's a very, very good track. I do like it. And then we get Am I Here? Hang on, no, we don't. We get Am I in Heaven? It's a little bit hollow and a bit too long. Keeps slowing down. And then you think, oh, this is going. And then the last bit of the track is really good because it's psychedelic space rock. I think if they chopped that first bit off and just had the psychedelic, it would be a lot better. Then we get Slow Jam 1. I quite like this. It's just a jam with interesting percussion and effects. Could have been improvised. It just sounds really good. Then we get Satan Speeds Up. Some really interesting stuff on here. The effects are good. It's very psychedelic vocal effects. Like this. And then Her and I, which is Slow Jam 2. Very interesting piece of music again. The guitars are great. The textures. That psychedelic keyboard sound. It's really groovy, as I say. Really groovy, man. I like that track. That was the last track. What I can say about that, although this album was recorded in 2014, it sounds like it was recorded in 1968 with such the textures and the feel of the late 60s. You just put this on and let it go. It's just an amazing album from top to bottom, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.2. Okay, coming in at number 2, we got the 4th album released on the 7th of March 2014, and it is called Oddments. Got some additional people on here, and it's Monty Harnett who does drums on tracks 9 and 10. First track on this is called Adula Majaka. It's got that sort of subcontinental start with the tambours and that. Without being, when you go to an Indian restaurant, you get that nice Indian music, that sort of thing, and then it turns into this sort of psychedelic sound. The keyboards are wonderful in this. I love that track. Stressing. Some great guitar effects on here. I don't know how they do it, but again, it sounds like it's been recorded in the 60s, and it sounds very mono, and it really adds to it. It is such a great track. Vegemite. It's psychedelic with a bit of Motown thrown in. When they start singing, you're expecting the Supremes to start singing. Yeah, different. It's Got Old, a very bluesy number with a great harmonica in it. Oh, They just play so well on that. Work this time, very chilled out, great vocal. It just sounds like it's been recorded in mono again. It's very atmospheric, and I do like the guitar work on this. Then we get a track, and it's only 17 second track, and it's called ABBACD. It's got to be the shortest punk track in history. It's 17 seconds of just yeah, don't know what that was doing there, but it goes in nicely into this track called Sleepwalker, which is very psychedelic. It's very simply structured, but it's wonderful. Then we get Hot Wax, my favourite track on here. It's because of that bass line. Got some sound effects, triangles, very monochronic as well. It's wonderful. Then we get Crying, which is a very hippie track. You know, another one of them people. You know, you look at some of them scenes that you get from Woodstock. It's all there. It's so psychedelic. I love it. Then we get this little short thing called Pipe Dream. It's a minute long. It's a short instrumental with some lovely keyboard sounds on it. Then we get Homeless Man in Adidas. Very mellow. Reminds me of a Simon and Garfunkel sort of track. Pretty good. And Oddments, it's just 25 seconds of pretty nonsense. Just to end the album. Again, an album that could have been recorded in the 60s. Every track on here is weird, wonderful. It's a great listen, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.3. But my number one album, and it's the one that I keep going back to, it's this third album. It came out on the 27th of September 2013, and it's called Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. Opens up with probably my favourite track ever. Well, it's my favourite track at the moment by this band, and it's called Head On / Pill. 15 minutes of absolutely amazing space rock, guitar rock frenzy, some great guitars. It's slow, then it gets aggressive. It's just an amazing piece of music. I really love that track. Next track, I'm Not a Man Unless I've Had a Woman. Love the bass and drum in this. What a vocal! What a vocal! They're so spaced out. It's just amazing. Chill back and listen to it. God Is Calling Me Back. Very Pink Floyd. Could have come off any of the first 2 or 3 albums. It's the backing vocal is the bit on that. It's just amazing backing vocals on that track. Next track is 30 past 7. Some amazing guitar textures on this. You can float away on this one on the clouds, especially under the headphones. It just takes you off into some atmosphere of amazement. Then we get Let Me Mend the Past, a song that a very 60s pop song. Lovely textures on the guitars. The piano is great. It's very sort of Nicky Hopkins style playing piano. I do like that track. Mystery Jack, brilliant. You think, you know, it's one of them tracks. Is this really written in 2013? No, it should have been written in the 60s. It's so psychedelic. Flowers in Your Hair again. And the solo is very Hank Marvin as well. So you get all sorts in there. Then we get Pop in My Step. The keyboards do dominate this. It's got, now this is that new wave sort of 80s keyboard, where the rest of the track is sort of psychedelic 60s. Then we get Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. This is a cross between Soft Machine and Procol Harum. It's my second favourite track on here. It's so good. Again, as it says, you float along. It's so 60s. Absolutely amazing track. What a way to end the album. I think this is an amazing album. This is the closest one that they've got to being a psychedelic, genuine 1960s psychedelic rock album. You just can't think that this is 2013. It's just amazing from top to bottom. I like how they mixed People's Soft Machines, Doors, early Pink Floyd, Procol Harum, and then you get a track that's got a bit of a 1980s keyboard in it. It works. This album is a gem, and I love it so much, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. So there we go. What a band. I am so glad that I've discovered these now. I can't believe I'd never heard this band, but boy, are they becoming one of my favourite bands of this century. I think, to be quite honest, there isn't really a bad album amongst them, apart from them two that were at the bottom with the spoken word. Every album has got something I love on it. So a band that I'm going to really start following, and I've seen clips of them on YouTube, and they are just a great band, full stop. Okay, that's all for today. It's been a long one in 2 parts, hence why we did it in 2 parts. But I'll be back tomorrow, and we've got the first of the viewers' pick Battle of the Debuts, and I think it was one that Mastermind Dave suggested, and it's between a band called Blue Angel and Black Rose. Both albums are on YouTube, so if you want to go and listen to them. Blue Angel features Cyndi Lauper, and Black Rose features Cher. So that's that tomorrow. And tomorrow is also Pick and Mix, and we've got a producer tomorrow, and it's the very talented Mr. Roger Bain. So that's all coming tomorrow, and don't forget it is live stream day as well. So have a great day everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.